What's up, SE Nation? Ramsey here. A few weeks ago, I was talking to one of my friends, Samuel West. He's based out of the UK. He was having some issues with his account manager, which were not necessarily issues per se. We were talking about some random stuff, and we ended up going through an impromptu coaching session. It wasn't really meant to be a coaching session. It was just I naturally start asking questions, I guess. And then I reached out a few weeks later, or a few days later, and asked like, "Hey, how did the meeting go?" And he was quite happy. So he came back. We recorded the process, and I hope you get a lot out of it. And if you're looking for similar help to Samuel, although he's not a client, he's a friend, check out the SE hotline. It is there for you, and we pretty much do what I just did with Sam as we're going through it. So check it out. Check out the video. I hope at a minimum the video will be useful to you, and I will see you some other day. You and I talked a while back. You were having, well, a challenge, I guess. I mean, it's not. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a small deal. It was just something that you wanted to discuss. So, what you mind sharing what it was, and then we can go forward and how you solved that problem.
Yeah, I mean, as an SE, we're constantly either invited on calls that are last minute or with no prep or discovery being done. And this was a situation that was a little different. And I come in Monday morning and I'm invited to a call, and it's for an hour and a half, and I'm like, an hour and a half? That's a long time to be on a call, and I don't know anything about who it is I'm going to be talking to. So it was kind of that, whether or not I should worry about that hour and a half, how do I approach this? Because I don't have any background info, no discovery. So that was kind of the situation I was placed in. And it was just kind of me finding a way out of that, if that makes sense.
So why was it the hour and a half that worried you? I mean, would an hour have worried you, or half hour? What would have been the limit and you wouldn't have been worried?
Yeah, I don't. Now I think about it, obviously, retrospect. I don't think it was the time that was worrying me.
Right.
However, if I was given 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or 60 minutes, I would have probably felt a little easier, because I know that I can demonstrate anything to do with the systems we use in about 10 minutes.
Right.
And that's 10 minutes of me talking. And so you obviously pad that each end, surround it, you can do 30 minutes probably if that's all the time you had. But this is on the other end of that, an hour and a half. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of time. So it was just, it was kind of concerned that we might, like, how do I fill up an hour and a half of content without me just talking and talking and talking?
So here's
the worst thing.
Why do you feel the need to fill up an hour and a half? What would have happened if you finished in 45 minutes? Do you think the customers would have been upset?
I don't know if it's that. I think there's an expectation when you're invited to an hour and a half call. My account manager booked it in for an hour and a half, so he obviously had the expectation that we would take that time. And I'm thinking, I don't need that much time. I need 30, 45 minutes maximum. So is he expecting me to fill up that time? Do I need to? Is it okay if I don't? Is there something else that I'm not thinking of? And I think that was the biggest thing, is like, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't really know anything. And I was kind of just overthinking the whole thing and worrying.
In my experience, it's been like, I don't care what the account manager sets up in terms of time. It could be half hour, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. I will take the amount of time that is needed. If I finish, so I got booked 2 hours once. I don't know if I told you this. I got booked a 2 hour time slot. There was a presentation and a demo. The presentation took 30 minutes, and then my demo was 5 minutes. We ended the call in 40 minutes, mainly because I did the demo. Everybody was happy, and we walked out. And and they were all happy because I didn't spend an extra, whatever, an hour and 30 minutes trying to just entertain and fill up the space. But that's That's my experience so far. I could learn something
Yeah.
else as I'm going through it in the future as well. All right, so you had that concern that was really bugging you when we talked. You were annoyed mainly because of the unknown and the time, right? So how did you actually try to address the situation?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I did was call you. So, you know, if there was something that I guess would work for others, I mean, is I kind of scanned around me to see if there was anyone else that would might understand what it is I'm going through. And I say what I'm going through. It's not like I
Yeah,
have some essence of a Greek tragedy, But
you
I'm
had some
like,
concerns. You had
yeah, I'm trying to find others that have experienced this before and kind of to help me walk through it, you know. And I think that was the first port of call for me. Like I didn't panic or send a load of messages to my AE or scream at them down the phone. Like it was just kind of I need to understand the logical side of this first and what am I really worried about, and then that's kind of where I opened up the conversation to someone like yourself. I think that was the first step for me in terms of just beginning to understand what was I even worried about.
okay. And what was the next step then? So you talked to me. I provided you with very bad advice, and
Yeah, it was terrible. It was really bad
terrible
actually.
advice. I know. Like I like to test people by giving them the worst advice I can, which was go yell at your salesperson and then not show up to the call. That was my advice to you.
Mm.
But what did you actually do after you and I hung up?
Um, I think probably one of the biggest things I think you mentioned was how I didn't need to use the time that was booked in. I think that was a big actual learning experience for me of I don't need to use all the time and it's okay if I don't use it. And it's obvious looking back thinking about it that you don't need to use all the time if you don't want to or need to. But for some reason there was that expectation and I felt like my account manager would be annoyed at me if I didn't use it up. So that was kind of the first thing. And the second thing you kind of referenced was how instead of overthinking it and panicking about it and getting stressed out and fighting myself, was to just open up a line of communication to the AE and actually start a conversation and talk it out. So
And
that's kind of what I did.
how did that go? I'm assuming because most salespeople are just horrible people. He started yelling at you for asking questions.
Oh yeah, he was, he told me he never wanted to work with me again.
Yeah.
No, no, definitely not. No, no. He was absolutely understanding and completely open to the possibilities. And so when I walked into that, prep call saying, "Hey, who are we talking to? What do they want? What's the discovery? And also, do we need an hour and a half to do this?" He basically turned around and said, "No, we don't need to use the hour and a half if we don't want to." And so that made me feel a lot better because I thought the expectation was on me to use it, and it turns out there wasn't one. That was just a safety net for us if we
Yeah.
wanted to go that deep. But probably the most important thing was I communicated the need or the requirement for me as an SC to understand what I'm walking into. And that turns out to be what the biggest worry was for me, is that I didn't know who they were, what they wanted, why we were joining the call, who and the obvious, right? The unknown. And so pushing that forward as my concern, turns out that the AE actually had loads and loads and loads of information that they could give me, and it was just the matter of fact of me asking for it, which prompted, the next thing that happened.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been in situations where something like that happens and I start arguing with myself. I start doing both sides of the arguments. Like I'm the victim, so I start yelling at myself and then like imagining what the account manager would say, and it will be something completely horrible. And then I actually have the conversation with the account manager and goes, everything that I prepared for, like for that fight, it's like, oh, it just, there was no fight necessary. Right? We're all on the same. we're on the same team, and we're gonna be on the same page by the time that meeting happens. So when I messaged you after, like, hey, how did that meeting go? Your response was, killed it, right? What happened? So now you have that information. How did you prepare to kill it, and what happened during the meeting that you felt that you killed it? And do you have the PO yet?
Um, Funnily enough, no, we don't have it yet. It's never that easy. But I really did feel like we as a team killed it, because when I reached out and kind of said, "Hey, what's going on? You know, who is this?" My AE kind of came back to me and was like, "You know, I've written up like an A4 page of notes for you. Have a look at that if you want." And I kind of read through it, and it did sing to me a little bit of like what was going on. But probably what took it the step further was then me turning around and saying, can we try something new on this? And so I tried out, which I don't do with all of my account managers, but you know, I wanted to try with this one, was the use of a situation slide, you know, and understand and portray or present the fact that we know what they're going through. And so that was the big change, the big difference from everything we've done before. You know, discovery is something we usually do, but that situation slide was the big difference. And so that's kind of, I said, can we try it? And to my surprise, he was like, yeah, if you want to try it, let's do it. So we together built out the situation slide, understanding what's the critical business issue, so on and so forth. And when I reference situation slides, I'm referencing the great demo methodology of the situation slide,
Right.
and what that entails. Obviously, it can be different for whomever wants to write it, but that's kind of the approach I took. And once I had written it and went through it, I kind of felt more confident in talking on the call, like to what was going on. Because if I read it and said, this is what they're going through, my AE read it and went, yeah, that is what they're going through. And we both confirmed. And then on the call, we went through it and confirmed it with them. Everything else after that point didn't matter. Like, it was the fact that we knew everything that was going on. And now the conversation that happens after that was so organic and tailored towards helping out these chaps that we were having the conversation with. That's kind of what made it really easy. The fact that we got the discovery, we built that situation slide together, we both agreed we knew it, presented it, they agreed that we knew it, they even gave us some more information on top of it. And then from there, the conversation was just organic and free flowing. And I didn't even end up showing any real product. I think we ended up talking for the full hour and a half, but like organically, not presenting anything. And I think I ended up showing about 6 or 7 minutes of product in the end. And we left the call, you know, grinning ear to ear, because we felt like we really nailed it. And they were like, honestly, you got it, you nail on the head with that one. And we initially joined thinking they want this thing here, this small thing over here. And then by the end of the call, they were like, what's all this other stuff you guys do? That's really interesting. Can you talk about that? And so it was a whole like array of things. And I realize I'm, you know, talking nonstop here, but it was that discovery to the situation slide, to the organic conversation, to the wider opportunity and solution that we could then help them with. That conversation helped us understand the wider picture of what these guys were going through, and our kind of rapport that we'd built up, and the fact that we came across genuine and genuinely wanted to help these guys. When we started talking about the wider stuff we did, it didn't sound like we were pitching. It sounded like we were just like, oh, there's this cool thing that we actually do that might help you. And it came across very genuine. And I think that's why when you asked me the question, how did it go? I turned around and said, we killed it. Not because we got the sale, because we didn't get the PO off the call. But I felt like in that moment, me and my account manager did everything we possibly could to do our job, but also help these guys out. and I left the call feeling very satisfied that I'd done that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that I don't know why I got excited. It's like watching The Matrix all over again. The first one.
It's a good. Yeah, the first one is a really good movie.
Yeah, so I got that. Like I got excited for you, so I'm happy that things went well.
Oh.
Let me ask you this: so this account manager seems to be very open, and from what I saw from your LinkedIn post, he wants to do this again with you, right? Like going forward, it'll be kind of your process. How and you support more than one account manager? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I currently support about 4.
So how are you planning on implementing this same sales process with the different personalities of the different account managers who may or may not be as open as this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate to have the 3 of the 4 account managers I work with. Like they're really open, and happily will if I come to the table with a new idea, they're like, yes, of course, let's do it. And one of them's French, so it's really hard to convince him to do anything. um I'm only kidding, but the fourth, they're much more experienced than all of the others put together, and so he's very much a different personality. He knows what he wants, he knows what he doesn't want, he has his kind of method. And so I find that implementing new strategies with the kind of I wouldn't call them junior because they're not, but like the less experienced younger crowd that I can relate to more, they're so open to me trying new things. And this was an example of one of the 3, but it's still that final hurdle I'm looking to, tackle with the 4th. And I think that will come in time because I need to prove myself to them in a way.
Yep.
And that's probably the biggest thing, is me proving to them that I know what I'm talking about and that I can be trusted. And I think that comes with time with relationships with AEs and SEs.
And the same way we have stories we tell our customers about how we've helped other customers. Now you're going to have stories to tell your account manager about how you've helped other account managers, which may or may not work, but at least you have proof, right? So that's something that could be used going forward. And yeah, if you ever run into any issues in the future with that one, you know where to find me.
Yeah, no, I that's exactly what evangelizing that success story across the organization, using it both as this is why this process is good, but also this is why I am good. That's like the kind of, once you get a really good, strong success story that's robust, you can absolutely throw it around. And, and also I always say, just tell my manager I did a great job and I'll be happy. And they sometimes do that.
Oh, that's good. Sam, I'm very proud of the way you handled this situation. I mean, you and I had a quick discussion and it wasn't like you took it way above and way beyond anything we had talked about. So it was,
I can't thank you and some of the other people I spoke to enough, because when I'm in that frantic panic mode, it's hard for me to reel it in and go logical again. But no, I without the people, the support group around me, it's like helped me become a better SE, I wouldn't have been able to do it either. So I think it's a testament as well to what you're doing and how you you already knew the answers to everything I was saying, but you made me go through that, figuring it out myself. And then in the end, I'm like, it was my idea. It was yours, actually. Now I think about it.
That's what sales is, right? You go through it and make it the customer's idea. So
yeah, no, you know what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for the plug. All right, but this is great. And hopefully people will learn a lot from your learning experience.
I can only hope.